Welcome to our program today via AARP Connecticut. We produce this show. And hi, I'm your host. I'm Elaine Warner. I'm on staff with the AARP Connecticut nonprofit statewide office, where we do advocacy and community outreach. We come to you in your local community with AARP's purpose in mind, and that is to empower you to choose how you live as you age. We hope to do that today with some fun events and activities. They are for almost any age person, so invite your family and friends to tune in as well. And the title of our show today is Fun with Purpose Virtually. Yes, all the events we're going to tell you about at the moment are virtual and they are easily accessible. So we're going to begin with our great guest, the State Director of AARP's nonprofit office, Nora Duncan. Welcome, Nora.
Thanks, Elaine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. And if you've watched our program before, Nora will be a familiar face to you. And Nora, before we get started on the various activities we want to tell our viewer about, if you could just let us know, you are the State Director of the Connecticut Nonprofit Office, I said, where we do advocacy and community outreach. If you can just briefly tell our viewer, what is your role as State Director, AARP Connecticut?
Sure. So, well, as you said, Nora Duncan, State Director, AARP Connecticut, which means I am in charge of managing, coordinating, and working with you, the rest of your colleagues, and our amazing team of volunteers to create both advocacy, outreach, and events that help people age 50 plus and their families in Connecticut thrive and age with dignity and have some fun with purpose while they're at it. And, you know, what we try to do is make sure that we are relevant to people of all ages and kind of no matter what their interests are. We try to have a suite of opportunities for folks. So whether you're, you know, an active person who wants to get out and explore the outdoors, or you're kind of a homebody who wants to stay at home, whether you love animals or you love art, we're trying to come up with things that are relevant to you, and then also help keep you informed and armed with the information you need to know so that you can live your best life.
Well, and as I said in our intro, the purpose of AARP is to empower you to choose how you live as you age. We hope we will do that today. And Nora, we said the title of the show is Fun with Purpose. We'll get to the virtual, but what is Fun with Purpose at AARP?
You know, at AARP, we have a social mission, and, you know, we need to make sure that we are out there and that our events and our gatherings and our offerings have social mission at its core. But social mission can be, for instance, maybe we're going to talk about how to prevent frauds and scams. Okay, so our AARP Fraud Watch Network has the mission to help you keep your money in your pocket where it belongs, give you the tools, the tips, the things you need to know so that you can avoid becoming a victim of a scammer, a con artist, and the like, right? That's the mission. The mission is to bring you those tools. Now, that doesn't have to be boring. That doesn't have to be sitting through a lecture, for instance. So maybe we're able to do that through a comedy show as well, you know, so you can bring in the education without feeling like you went to school. For those of us who don't love school, perhaps like me. And that's really what it's all about. So for instance, you can learn about the ins and outs of family caregiving, but also be seeing a feature-length film at the same time. It's you know, you can go to, and this is when we would go out, but now you go virtually to all of these things. So you can go to the Mystic Aquarium, for instance, but you can learn all about, you know, voter education as you walk in the door. And again, I'm speaking virtually right now, but that was how we did things when we were in person. And it is, again, how we will do things someday when we're in person again. And of course, when we're mixing our virtual and our in-person events.
Fun with purpose. Yes, I love that because, you know, often the subjects are serious subjects, you know, the future of Medicare, the solvency and support of Social Security, healthcare access, aging at home, quality and dignity, but there can be a fun and exciting access to that. We're going to tell you more about that. So, Nora, just sort of walk us through, you mentioned in person, You mentioned virtual, and we'll get into the future, or as much as we can predict what the future looks like, depending on when our viewer is watching this program. But likely we may have some people watching that have been to our in-person events. So just what is the scenario? Has it been, and how have we transitioned?
So, like everybody else, when COVID hit, we had to rethink how we did our work, and so we pretty quickly got off the ground. We had to cancel our in-person events, just like everybody else did, and we figured out a way to repurpose those. And a lot of it involved, really getting our staff, our volunteers, our technology to a place where we could go out and publicly interface with folks in a way that made sense to them, and you know, what to say about it? I felt a personal commitment to many of the venues that we had been working with in person. And I wanted to make sure that, those venues, especially those that counted on revenue at the gate, for instance, were able to continue to do work with us just in a different way. So I would love to be, for instance, at the Wadsworth Atheneum Museum of Art for free AARP Day. That was the goal. That was the goal in April of 2020. It then became, we pushed it out to September 2020. And then it became, we're going to do this virtually. We're going to get an exclusive behind the scenes from the curators and from, a little advanced peek at what's coming from the museum. We're going to bring 300 and change people into a virtual event that way. So, that's what we had to do to, pivot. I'm kind of getting sick of the word pivot, but we pivoted and said we still have a responsibility to our members, to the general public, and to our community partners, and how do we do that in our new world until we are able to go safely back, or we're able to mix our in-person and our virtual events again. So that's an example. Hopefully that serves as one that makes some sense. But we're trying to make exclusive and engaging opportunities for people to join us, as well as I've been trying to schedule these behind the scenes at our great Connecticut venues, the Mystic Aquarium, the Wadsworth Atheneum, Mystic Seaport, Connecticut's Beardsley Zoo, the list goes on. I'm trying to make sure those are also happening at a time where grandparents or parents might be able to engage their school-age children with them, right? Because I'm also very sensitive to the fact that a lot of people are teachers at home now that never were before, are trying to figure out a way to help their kids, their adult kids, with their grandchildren. So what can we do? I am super excited about watching behind the scenes with the Penguins, but you know what? So might an 8-year-old be, so these are things that an 8-year-old and an 80-year-old might all like equally as well. Maybe the 8-year-old can help the 80-year-old get online and do this. I mean, I think we have a different opportunity here than we maybe had before COVID-19, where the intergenerational aspect of this has a new look and feel to it. I mean, we always saw grandparents and grandchildren and parents and their kids and, groups that were intergenerational when we were at these events, especially in the summer. But I think this fall, winter, not summer, when the kids are generally in school, if we are homeschooling, this is a whole different opportunity for us. And, trying to take that silver lining, like a lot of us have been trying to do during this time, and say, what can we create that has multiple meaning and multiple purposes for a variety of people?
Well, and Nora, you sort of answered my next question as to what ARP Connecticut and you as the lead on the team and your staff have learned about this. I like to think that hopefully there can be something positive from a cataclysmic event, and you just addressed that. And I love the fact that it's intergenerational. And again, no matter what age you are today, if you're watching our program, please invite family members, friends, youngsters, et cetera, because we've got some exciting things to tell you about. So we're about to get into those specific activities, Nora, but as we put the website up on the screen, if you can let our viewer know, how can they access our virtual activities and events?
Right. So 99.9% of what we do is free for people. So take that off the table first off the bat. You don't need to be worried about paying more for these kind of events. It's aarp.org/CT. And there's an events widget, I call it. It's a little box, it says events. Push it. And then you end up at all of the events that are available to the general public. We also, a lot of times, can show up in your community. You could, maybe you're a librarian, maybe you're the head of a civic organization. You want to invite us in to do a presentation. You're going to see the kinds of things that we're able to do, and we'll talk a little bit about that now. But it's just as simple as aarp.org/CT, hitting the events page and scrolling through. We update that constantly. I'll give you another silver lining about virtual. I don't have to worry about snow cancellations. I do lately have to worry about, tropical storms knocking out people's power. But other than that, there's always something, right? We can bring more events to people probably in the winter months than we have in the past. And that's a really great opportunity for us to help community organizations that might need some programming. It's a great opportunity for us to recruit more volunteers and to get more volunteers trained and up to date and up to speed on the great offerings that we have with the purpose, the mission-driven aspect of our work, and bringing tips and tools to people that help them live their best lives as they age. So yeah, that's how you do it. You just got to find us online. That is the thing. It's online now, but we have been engaging people through telephone town halls more so than ever. I've conducted at AARP Connecticut since March more telephone town halls than we have in the entire 8 years that I've been the state director. And that's pretty impressive. So we are using the telephone to reach people because we know not everybody's in line, and we know people are home more. And that when we have important information to bring them on COVID, on policies, with their elected officials, fraud prevention, whatever the case may be, the telephone is still a tool that we can use. So, I do regret that we can't be in person with people more like we used to be. I know that's a loss, and I know virtual doesn't answer the call for everybody.
But, Nora, you've mentioned there are, for those that might not be comfortable with technology, we're going to also tell you how you can learn to be a better or improve and enhance your skills, as we are all learning at different phases. But yes, teletown halls with phones, or you can click on links. So there's a lot of different platforms, and we're here to actually help you through the process. And also you mentioned, if in your community you would like to see some of the programs we're going to now tell you about, Nora's direct line is going to be there, my email, my direct line. So you can certainly get in touch with us, and we're happy to move you to the right person to bring these programs to your community. Nora, you mentioned the Fraud Watch Network. If you can just briefly touch on it again, it is one of our most robust, most popular programs. It certainly affects any age. What can our viewer find in a virtual environment for that?
So we're going to talk about what con artists do to try to scam you out of your hard-earned money. I mean, we know that there are people who are out there working 24/7 a day to extract that cash from your hand, whether it be a romance scam, a digital scam, somebody knocking on your door. We try to help people understand the psychology behind what folks do to get you into a place where you are more likely to be a victim, and make sure that people aren't victims. We have police colleagues that say this. I can solve every crime that hasn't been committed. And that's what the cops will say. So if we can stop the crimes from happening, we're all in a better place. And we've got amazing volunteers trained in this, as well as amazing law enforcement, banking, aging professionals, the postal service inspectors, federal law enforcement. The list goes on and on. We work closely with the International Association of Financial Crimes Investigators to bring real expert advice to people where they live. And so that's the kind of thing you can expect. There's a digital component to this, just aarp.org/fraud watch network. You can sign up for fraud watchdog alerts. You can interact with a map that people are inputting from all over the country to talk about the scams that are happening live. Law enforcement inputs into that, and so do people like the viewers today. So it's a really robust, interactive, multifaceted program that we have, and it also includes a help center, which number I'm not going to remember right now, Elaine. So maybe we can get that on the screen too. We have an AARP Fraud Watch Network help center that is staffed all by volunteers who can help you or someone you love who calls in and thinks they may have been the victim of a crime, to help connect them to local resources, to give advice as to what to do next. We can't get people's money back. We can't, but we can be there peer to peer to help people get through these scams and frauds that victimize so many people across the country every year.
Well, and again, Nora, they affect just about any age person.
Yeah.
So a topic that really is for everybody. And Nora, you keep mentioning the word volunteerism, near and dear to me. I'm the program specialist for volunteer engagement. Yeah. And so as you hear about these various programs, our volunteers are now trained to present these programs. We have support volunteers, and I can walk you through that process, and you'll have my phone number and my email on the screen. So I'm going to throw out some other categories quickly to you, Nora. Caregiving, boy, that's become more important than ever, and always been important to ARP, but what can, again, a viewer expect to see virtually?
Well, and you say it impacts everybody. Millennials are among the biggest group of caregivers, unpaid family caregivers in our country right now. So what you will expect in most of our caregiving resources, our standard programming, is the Caregiver Roadshow. And it's really a roadmap to Connecticut, what you need to know about the kinds of programs, resources, opportunities in Connecticut for unpaid family caregivers, as well as the challenges. We talk about advocacy and outreach in the same conversation a lot of times, but the need that family caregivers have really propelled our advocacy work on things like passing paid family and medical leave, so you never have to choose between caring for your loved one and your paycheck, by keeping respite funding for programs that Connecticut sponsors, for helping increase telehealth opportunities so that you can get your family member to the doctor without having to take time off from work. So you're really going to hear about what's new and what's not, what we have and what we don't have, and what you need to be prepared for as a family caregiver.
Yeah, and there's just an issue that becomes more important by the second, and definitely intergenerational, no question about it. Touch on briefly, you talked about tropical storms. You don't have to worry about snowstorms virtually, but tropical storms. We all know the price of utilities in Connecticut, but we do offer quite an informational, educational presentation on that as well.
Yeah. Connecticut is a deregulated market, which makes us unique from a lot of other states. Consumers have choices, and not all choices are created equal, and neither are all consumers. So this is a educational service. We ask you to bring a copy of your electric bill with you, and that will happen virtually as well. Then we go over the electric bill, what it means. You practically need a PhD in Connecticut to read it, but there are many things that we've been able to advocate for to be added to the bill. For instance, what is your bill going to cost you next month if you're on a third-party supplier versus what it would cost if you were in the standard offer? Now, there's no affordable energy in Connecticut, so we don't try to say that, we're going to make your life necessarily significantly more affordable, but you can learn if there are options for you. If you're in the third-party market, whether that is the right place for you or not. For most people, most residential consumers, they're not using enough energy to make that market work well for them, but some people are. And we're going to showcase and run you down that road, as well as be able to update you on the latest and greatest things happening at the state legislature and at the Public Utility Regulatory Authority.
And we also want to note that when we talk about advocacy, which touches, as you said, just about everything we do, Nora, we always do that in a nonpartisan way, very issue-oriented.
Absolutely.
But we are always nonpartisan. In this day and age, more than ever, there may be times in our life where we need to look for a new job, or we want to look for a new job, just try something new, or perhaps we're talking to a viewer who is retired and now says, hey, I want to get back in the workforce, maybe on a part-time basis. Just briefly, if you can tell again our viewer, what are we doing in the job seeker category?
Well, this is, again, something, there's a lot of online resources, and then there's in-person resources that are run out of AARP Connecticut, and some that are run out of our national office, aarp.org/CT, and that events widget. Again, you're going to find it all there. But we've got everything from what you need to know about a changing job market due to COVID, due to technology changes. If you haven't searched for a job in 25 years and suddenly find yourself in that place, you know how remarkably different it is. It's an entirely different landscape. What do you need to know about LinkedIn? What do you need to know about online job seeking? What do you need to know about interviewing virtually? And then, we also had, again, there's an advocacy component to some of this, which is generally speaking around age discrimination, but as well, AARP at the national level and the state level works with universities, employers, and social service organizations to try to bring together resources that help age 50 plus job seekers meet their potential, have tools they need, and really be able to delve into stuff that is relevant to them. Maybe how you set up your LinkedIn profile might look different than how Gen Z sets up theirs. But there are still things that we all need to know and we all need to understand, because HR directors are HR directors and they're looking for certain things. So there's really a suite of opportunities that we can bring. And as well, this is a great one for the librarian, the community center, to ask us to come in and present. You'd be surprised at how many people will come out of the woodwork for these kind of events. When we were in person, I'd go to towns that I wouldn't expect to see 70 people show up for a job seeker event at the library on a Wednesday night, and they'd be there. So really encourage local organizations to consider that one, especially because I think it's kind of a niche market, but it's one that needs to be addressed.
Well, and also in that category, Nora, that the virtual world may not change too much, particularly if you're interviewing for something in another part of the state, maybe even another part of the country. It could be a more expeditious way, both for the interviewee and the employer. So really good information there. You touched before on teletown halls. We do them with our local people. We've done them with the long-term care ombudsman, about safe voting in Connecticut. We've done our national office does them as well. We've had our United States senators on call. So we'll put that link up also, Nora, so people can tune into those, and they can even listen to old ones. Anything briefly you want to mention on the teletown halls?
The teletown hall is a lot of times, I think, the best way for us to bring high level officials, the governor you mentioned, our U.S. senators, in on current event topics that are of interest. When we're in an election cycle, that's often a way for us to sort of have a telephonic debate between candidates. But, a COVID-19 is probably the best example of us turning on a dime to, the first week after the governor's first executive order, for instance. We're on a telephone town hall with him, the state epidemiologist, the like. So, and those continued. And in a time of misinformation, or confusion, or just a brand new world for all of us, it's a really great way for us to allow our members, and that's only members we can call, but other people can listen live on Facebook Live, or call into the phone number, or go to the link that you mentioned where we have old recordings and broadcast live streams. It's a great way for people to be able to ask questions that they want the answers to, and get reliable information. It was just such a strange world this spring. It was great to be able to bring together health professionals and public officials to bring the best information we could forward. And that was happening weekly at the national level as well.
Yes. And again, if you go to AARP.org, the national website, you'll see the phone number there. And again, our website, AARP.org/CT. Nora, you mentioned bringing Mystic Aquarium and Mystic Seaport and the zoo and the art cultural centers virtually. But this is one of my favorites, and certainly favorite throughout the state, movies for grownups. Not too much time left here, but if you can touch on that and the diversity now and variety within movies for grownups online.
Yeah, movies for grownups was one of our favorite things. We'd all go to the movie theater and we watch a sneak preview of a movie or see a free movie that had been out but was really popular. We can't do that right now, but there are a variety of ways to see our movies for grownups online. The movies have changed a little bit and they're diversifying that, but there's also, because of our new reality, it's kind of gotten people to think differently. We've added trivia nights. We've added one-day universities with a really amazing array of guest speakers. And some of our top e-newsletters now feature celebrity guests and talks with them. So there's really a lot out there that we've been able to do. And just, again, silver lining. There's new ways to engage. And you don't have to leave the comfort of your own home to do so. So we really hope people can continue to engage with us, send us ideas, invite us to your community, and keep challenging our thought process on these things, because we want to stay fresh and relevant. We don't want to be stale and boring. Fun with purpose can still happen, even if we're not having a free happy hour before the movie too.
And you're right. We have to challenge ourselves to learn more and do whatever we can to gain from this unusual experience. Nora, very briefly, just a minute to go here, but if anybody's apprehensive about using technology, getting on some of these new platforms, Skype, Zoom, Intrado, maybe names that people are not even familiar with, what do you say to them about accessing?
Well, I'd say this, sign up, and the worst thing that happens to you is you can't get into an event you signed up for that was free. It's really no risk. But the thing you can also do, and I know I'm not a technology expert, but go ahead and email us at ct@aarp.org. That's just ct@aarp.org, and say, I'm new to this. I signed up for your event. What do I need to know? And we can try to give you some tips to go through it. And there's a lot of these platforms offer their own online tutorials that are videos and that are user friendly. Once you get into these things, they're pretty easy. If you're not presenting yourself, you're just listening, it's usually pretty easy. And there's always a fallback, phone number, which is not a great way to do some of this. But just email us, ct@aarp.org.
Nora, thank you. As you and I talked off camera, so much to talk about, but not enough time. But again, go to our website, arp.org/CT, and go to events. We're here to help you, support you, again, with our purpose to empower you to choose how you live as you age. Nora, always a delight. You're just full of information, a busy lady, leading the charge at AARP Connecticut, the statewide national office. Thanks for being with us today, Nora.
Thanks, Elaine.
And if you are watching as a member of AARP, you are amongst 600,000 or so members in the state of Connecticut. You're in good company. And if you're not, we appreciate your viewing as well and sharing the knowledge that you are learning today. So thank you for that. We love coming to you in your local community, again, with AARP's purpose in mind to empower you to choose how you live as you age. Interested in volunteering? You can learn how to jump in virtually or otherwise. Eventually, call me, Elaine Warner, 860-548-3169. Hope you've enjoyed today's program produced by AARP Connecticut, and hope to see you again right here in your local community. Thanks for watching.